Ginormous theme parks on the sea, floating retirement homes, settings for a murder mystery novel or disaster movie, and hotbeds for the spread of viruses. For a lot of us, these are the few things that come to mind when we think of cruise ships. But we're digging a little bit deeper today to get to know this industry better. So anchors away, Aluxer. Here are 15 facts you likely didn't know about the cruise shipping industry. Let's go. Number 1. Most cruise ships are owned by just 3 companies. If you close your eyes and imagine a cruise ship, no matter what you're picturing, you can name the company that owns it by about 3 guesses. That is, once you know the names of the 3 companies that take up 75% of the world's market for cruises. In first place is Carnival Corporation, second, Royal Caribbean Group, and third is Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings. And if you add the 4th biggest on the list, that's Mediterranean Shipping Company, or MSC, we've now accounted for 88% of the world market. Number 2. It makes double the profit margin of hotels. Cruise ships are basically giant hotels traveling the sea, with a few differences of course. And one of those differences is the size of their profit margins, which average 17%, around double that of conventional hotels. And that's mostly thanks to the money they make from onboard purchases like alcohol, spa treatments, and gambling. Of course, they get a lot of revenue from ticket sales too, around 60%. But once you factor in fuel, travel agent fees, marketing, paying staff, and the cost of the ship itself, most of the ticket money is eaten up, which leaves onboard purchases to make up their profit. So if passengers never bought anything on board, those companies would sink faster than you could say Titanic. But given those passengers are stuck on a ship, there isn't much risk of that happening. Number 3. They're not just for the luxury end of the market. Some people think of cruise ships as something only for rich people, but that's not true anymore. Just as with any kind of hotel, there's a lot of variety, including the pricing. At the budget end, cruises could cost around $50 to $60 a day, but the luxury end, well, that can go up to thousands. That is, if you take a cruise line like Seabourn, Carnival's luxury line, which boasts menus from Michelin-starred chefs, or names like Regent Seven Seas or Viking Ocean, where the service is so hands-on you'll find close to equal numbers between staff and passengers. Number 4. The average age of cruise passengers is dropping. If you thought that cruises were only for people over age 60, again, it might have been true once, but not so much anymore. The average age of passengers on cruises worldwide is currently 46, and it's getting younger and younger every year. The profile of an average cruise passenger is also North American, double the numbers of Europeans, which are in second place. These demographics tend to have an annual household income of about $90,000, and they're also repeat customers, with around 50% of them taking a cruise once a year. Number 5. The industry is one of the biggest casualties of COVID. We all know the pandemic has been a disaster for high street retailers, airlines, and well, a lot of companies that aren't called Amazon. But for cruise companies, it was closer to an apocalypse. Maybe you remember just before the pandemic really got underway, one of the major quarantines we actually heard about was on the cruise ship the Diamond Cruiser, which couldn't find a port to dock in. Yeah, cruise ships are pretty much the worst place to be in a pandemic. Around the same time, US authorities put all further cruises on hold, and unlike cinemas and airlines, the world didn't see more cruising activity for well over a year, not until summer 2021, so it's no surprise that the share prices of the major cruise lines took an even bigger hit than airlines, down to around 15% of pre-COVID figures, and they've since recovered around half of that, which leads us to number 6. There could be a big comeback soon. According to an article in The Economist from August 2021, there are big plans for a comeback. Shipping companies are still going ahead with orders. Even in the middle of the pandemic, there were 100 ships on order worldwide. There were some delays, but none were canceled. While most cruise ships are still out of action, the Cruise Lines International Association, or CLIA, estimates that in the next few years, 74% of cruise ships will be back to sailing, and it looks like booking numbers are up. Norwegian Cruise Lines have reported bookings for 2022 are the highest they've ever seen, even with steeper prices than before the pandemic. Number 7. They're huge polluters. Okay, time for the really dark side of the cruise shipping industry. A single cruise ship can burn 150 tons of fuel each day and emit as much CO2 as 1 million cars combined. And if that wasn't bad enough, they also dump thousands of tons of garbage. And guess where? Yup, into the sea. In 2019, Carnival Corporation was fined $20 million for dumping plastic and oil-contaminated waste. And that was just 1 year after an investigation after it dumped thousands of liters of food waste onto the Great Barrier Reef. Probably explains why they've been nicknamed the Monsters of the Sea. Number 8. They've been banned from Venice and other historic cities. Besides natural environments, they're also not doing any favors for the world's most beautiful historic cities. Just ask anyone who lives in Venice. Also in 2019, quite a year for shipping incidents. Cruise ships were banned from docking in Venice after MSC's Opera crashed into a smaller ship in Venice's Giudecca Canal and injured 4 people. The ban came after years of protests in the city to axe cruise ships as they affect the tides and damage the foundations of historic buildings. And it's not just Venice. Cruise ships have also been restricted in other historic cities in Europe, like Bruges and Dubrovnik. Number 9. Huge investments have been made to clean them up. Yep, they don't have the greatest of reputations, but at least it looks like the cruise shipping industry is starting to get the message. According to Cruise Lines International Association, $23.5 billion has been invested into making cruise ships less damaging to the environment. Improvements they're making include a 40% reduction of carbon emissions by 2030, switching fuel to cleaner sources like liquefied natural gas, and cutting down the chemicals in exhaust fumes. Number 10. The Caribbean is the most popular destination. When most people imagine going on a cruise, they picture a Caribbean backdrop, and for a good reason, because globally it's the most popular region for cruises by a long shot. In 2019, 12 million passengers went on cruises there, compared to 4 million passengers heading to Asia, and 3.2 million to the Mediterranean, which comes in third. But if you want to go somewhere a little less mainstream, a cruise can also be a good way of seeing remote regions of the world, like cruising the Norwegian fjords to see the Aurora Borealis, or taking an icebreaker cruise to Antarctica. Number 11. Miami is the cruise capital of the world. In fact, not just Miami, all of Florida, which has 5 cruise ports, generating over $100 billion in annual revenue for the state. But none of those ports is more popular than Miami, which is why it's known as the cruise capital of the world. And it's also where the biggest cruise companies are based. Carnival has headquarters in Florida as well as in Panama and the UK. You'll also find head offices of Royal Caribbean there, and despite the name, also Norwegian Cruise Lines. Yes, it has Nordic roots, but it's now firmly based in Miami. Number 12. Cruise companies versus the Florida government. Florida might be a great place to set sail for the Caribbean, but right now there's only one pretty big snag to be based there. Cruise operators are now required by the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention to provide proof of vaccination for passengers or pay heavy fines. However, Florida's state government has a different idea. Governor Ron DeSantis is definitely not a fan of COVID passports, and his government has ruled to make them illegal. This is one reason why cruises are still struggling to take off again. Norwegian Cruise Holdings challenged this in court in August. It's an ongoing dispute and a serious headache for cruise companies. Number 13. It's finding some novel uses for AI. Well, pretty much every industry is nowadays, but the cruise shipping industry definitely has some interesting ones. Not just robot baggage handlers, that's old school. Carnival Corporation has robot bartenders. On top of mixing drinks, they can even tell you jokes. There's even holograms to guide you to the nearest restroom. And MSC Cruises have their virtual assistant Zoe, an AI device installed in its cabins that asks you questions about your stay, makes recommendations as well as reservations, and tells you how much you run up on your bill. Number 14. The world's biggest ship is 1/4 mile long. Yup, it's called the Symphony of the Seas and it's owned by Royal Caribbean. It also weighs in at 228,000 tons, about the same as 140,000 SUVs. It has 18 decks and over 2,500 cabins for its 6,690 passengers and 2,200 crew. This vessel boasts an ice rink, indoor and outdoor swimming pools, a zip line, a 92-foot water slide, and even a park. Number 15. Cruise companies are cashing in on themed cruises. And not just the predictable ones like the Disney Cruise Line voyages. We're talking a lot more far out than that. You may not have thought about the Hells Angels intersecting with the cruising market, but think again. Yeah, biker cruises exist. So do goth-themed cruises. If you want to go a bit more mainstream though, you could go for a Friends-themed cruise set to take place in 2022. There's even a cat lovers cruise where you can dress up as a cat, share photos of your cat with other cat lovers, and do pretty much everything cat-related except bring your own cat on board. Alright, Alexer, what do you think? After everything the cruise ship industry has been through, do you think you'd still want to set sail on one of these giants of the sea? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And since you stuck around with us until the end, you're of course getting a bonus. The most expensive suite in the world. Alright, you didn't think we would let you go without filling you in on the most expensive, luxurious cruise ship and the most expensive suite in the world, now did you? The Seven Seas Grandeur run by Regent Seven Seas Cruises, named right at the top of luxury cruising. You can board for a minimum of $700 a night, but if you really feel like flashing the cash, you could go for their luxury suite, the Regent Suite. At $8,000 a night, it's the most expensive cruise suite in the world. According to the UK's Daily Express, it's 6 times the size of an average UK home, with every luxury you can think of, including a Steinway piano. Of course, it's placed atop the deck just above the bridge, giving you the best view on the ship. Thanks for spending some time with us today, Alexer. We're so glad you did. Give us a like if you enjoyed today's video. Never miss an upload by hitting that bell icon, and don't forget to subscribe.